Hello and welcome back for the final time to Driftwood Hollow and of course to Timberborn. Now today's goal is to basically give our beavers the best possible life we can. And we're going to do that in two different ways. Firstly, we are going to try and get bots in any building that has basic needs injury of any percentage. That way our beavers aren't doing any dangerous jobs. And the second way is by getting ourselves some aesthetics and some ore, trying to get this well-being number up as high as we possibly can before the end of the episode. Now we do have 3.1 thousand science at the moment, so we can start working on getting our bots into the places we want them. And I think the first place I want to do that is our mine. That is going to cost us 1,000 science. We won't be able to fill that up just yet, but I actually figure we can probably switch at least one of our farms, if not two of our farms, back to being actual beavers rather than anything else. And honestly, just to save a little bit of workload, because I don't think 3 farmhouses is necessary for all of the crops we have, I'll set all of those farmhouses back to only having 2 beavers. That will give us 4 vacancies, which I'm okay with. We also have bots in our builder's hut at the moment, and I don't think I really need them in there. This is now full. In terms of whether or not, well, we can actually automate this building entirely if we want to. I don't think I will. Instead, we have enough scrap metal going around. We don't really need that much more. I'm just going to lower this down to, I don't know, 4 workers for now. Should be fine. I will switch our builder's hut back to regular beavers, which I think is okay as well. This can stay as regular beavers as well for the time being. We currently have 13 unemployed bots, which, you know, isn't ideal. We also have some things that aren't available in range. You are looking for chestnuts. You should be able to find that. Yeah, we have chestnuts here. Maybe we're just full on chestnuts. Is that the case? No. Okay. Can you not get to it? You might not be able to get to that. Right. That is interesting to note. Okay. Instead, what we can go ahead and do is move that over to... Where can we move it to? Ah, that's a little bit of a trick. Okay, one of these medical beds can come out. And that, in theory, should give them back access to those chestnuts, which is perfect. You are the one that I was just looking at. You are the Tapper's Shack, and you should now have access to that again. I didn't realize I cut off all access to that. That is 100% my bad, but they should, in theory, after a little bit here, figure out that there is stuff indeed to do in range. So let's just pause and unpause those, and that should fix that. Okay, the next building I would love to get bots in is this one, but unfortunately that costs us 4,000 science, so that is not going to happen yet. One place we could do it is in our lumber mills. These have a lower injury rate, but it's still a little bit. This costs 500, but I believe when we do this, we can get bots in any of these buildings. So let's go ahead and do exactly that. Get all of those bots working in there. I believe that is all of them. We could do the exact same thing for our gear production, and I think I will. Let's go ahead and switch all of those over. And the wood workshop as well. That's 2,000 sites, so we can't quite get to that just yet. That's 1,000. We could do the paper mill. And I don't see why we wouldn't. So let's go ahead and do that. And what else? Okay, this is a big one. This costs 2,000. It is the explosives factory. Clearly a dangerous place to work, but unfortunately we can't afford that just yet. So we're going to have to let the game run for a little bit while we build up a little bit of extra science. The good news is we have a surplus of workers at the moment. We only have 1 vacancy. That will be in our hauling post, which I am okay with. Actually, no, it won't. It will be in our observatory, which I am also okay with, but a little bit less so because I really quite need the science right now. So I'm going to switch this to the second lowest priority, and I'm going to switch our hauling post to the bottom priority. So we pull people out of here before we pull them out of our research, and that should be okay. All right. With that being said, I think I will let the game run for just a little bit here. get a little bit more science under my belt so I can switch some of these beavers over to bots in some of our more dangerous factories, and then we'll get working on some of our decorations. All right, I'm going to pause here for a second. We're currently in a drought. Our batteries are holding on very well. They're every now and then getting a little bit recharged by our windmills, which is exactly what I want to see. But with our excavator now both automated and our mine is now automated as well, we have a lot of excess workforce. And since we're trying to save up science, I will go ahead and switch these farms all back to bots, just for the time being, while we build up some science. And to do that, I would like to build a couple more observatories. The question is, where? I guess they could live over here. The only problem is we don't have power. Or we could bring them back, you know, this way, which I think will work out just fine. We have plenty of room back here, and we can quite easily connect it to the power grid just by attaching it to this building. So I think that is what I'm going to do. We'll go for an extra, let's say 4 observatories for the moment. We're going to run a path straight out of that ladder. No, we can't. We can run it around the corner and that way. And that way we should get a decent amount of work being done in here. Now, I will have to keep an eye. Actually, I will put these at the lowest priority. Let's just do that so we don't have to worry about it. That way they should, in theory, still work at this. I'm going to throw this back up to that priority and then throw these 2 back up to normal priority, and I think that'll be okay. So they'll get these built relatively quickly. We have all of the stuff that we need. It's just a matter of hauling it over, and that should significantly increase the amount of science we are producing so that we can eventually go ahead and switch all of these things over to bots. I just want to do a quick little run around the map and just see what we can and can't afford. For example, the explosives factory can now be switched over. Absolutely fantastic. Some of these things are okay. Some of them are ridiculously expensive. For instance, the bot assembler here costs $10,000 to be automated by bots. So we're going to let the game run. They'll build this up and we'll go from there. Good news, I believe everything that can be run by bots that has an injury thing is now being run by bots. We have 13 bots left over. We have 12 beavers left over. We are doing very, very well. Everything is running very, very, very well. I'm extremely happy with the progress we've made today. The one thing we are, well, actually the 2 things we are running low on are dandelions, which I'm okay with, because all we're producing with those dandelions is antidote. We're not going in bad water, so I'm not particularly concerned about that. The other thing is maple syrup, and that is used to make maple pastries, which I would like a better supply of. So, and that means we are going to have to plant some more maple trees. And if we have a look at this forester, I feel like we could potentially flatten some of this space up here and use that. Now, in order to get to all of this is a little bit annoying, but we could potentially try our hand at actually, you know, building a truss over the top of this and see how that goes, just because we haven't done it yet. I'm also going to cancel planting those crops there because they don't seem to be getting done anyway. I'll extend that path out a little bit and delete that side, and we will throw a ladder right in there, allowing us to get rid of a couple of these trees, which we will absolutely go ahead and do. Mark that for deconstruction, and basically anything on this entire thing up here can be marked for deconstruction because we will eventually get to it. Now, can they deconstruct from above? That is a question that I have, and I don't actually know the answer to it. So do we do a truss over this? I feel like it's a little bit excessive, but hey, we can try. So I'm going to plan a truss out. I'll probably plan it from this side because we have the most access. And I think that'll be okay. I might even go ahead and move this guy over so that we have even clearer access to this. So let's go into plant crops, cancel that, and we will also mark that for deconstruction. Once that's done, we'll move this guy over, and then we can have a little bit of path going back this way as well, which I think will be good. So that can get removed. This path is going to come back this direction. And then we figure out a truss to get over this so that we can build all of this up. Now, again, this is probably entirely unnecessary, but I haven't built a truss yet, so I figure we probably should. I am going to start out with a ladder situation just to above where we need to be, which should be, let's go one taller just to be safe. We'll grab some platforms on this side is probably fine. They almost line up, so that's good. Something like that actually will be perfect. And then we'll go for an overhang on either side, just like so. Do I need to make that too wide? I think I might. Yeah, I think I do. I think I do need to make that too wide. Well, that's annoying. All right, let's do that all again. In front of it, grab the singular platforms. They can go there. 6 wide overhang. Oh, that's wrong. That doesn't need to be there. 6 wide overhang, like so. And then every 2 apart, we can build a little platform going out, and then we'll have to have another one at the end there, but that's okay. And then we can just do the exact same thing like so. And they should, in theory, be able to build that as soon as I add in the all-important ladders so that they can access that entire system. And that way, when that is all built, they can come over the entire thing and blow it up from above. That's the plan. That is the plan. We are going to jump into a time lapse as they hopefully get this done. Let me just make sure that I have ladders and paths on top of everything so that they can actually access all of this, because that is going to be somewhat important. Just like so. And same thing for up here. I understand that these paths probably aren't all important, but you know, we may as well include them where we can. All right, with that done, let's go ahead and jump into the time lapse. And do you want to know what's annoying? I don't think they can reach these from above. So I have to climb this manually anyway, but you know, it looks cool, and at least we'll have an easy way to detonate everything. So that's something at the very least. Let me figure out how I can go about getting our beavers up to all of these levels, and we'll come back from there. There are a couple of trees left on here. I am just going to leave them for the moment. For now, I'm going to demolish everything that I built on here for the stairs and things, because, you know, I don't need them anymore. And we will go ahead and set all of this to be demolished, except for the few that have trees left on them. And then we'll come back in later with some ladders and get those cleaned up. But for now, we should be able to go into our landscaping here and say anything that's on this level can go ahead and get a level 1 dynamite, and that should be good. Something like so. Level 2 will get level 2 dynamite, of course, that just makes sense. Something like so, I believe, is everywhere. Level 3, of course, level 3 dynamite, just like so. Level 4 and 5, I will just do 1 and 2 again. And then we'll come back in with the level 3 after that. So something like that should be all of that dynamite ready to be placed. I will hide the UI while we do this because I think this will kind of look fun. So we'll run the time lapse. Hopefully they can build all of that dynamite with that in place. That needs to be removed. That needs to be replaced. And then we can start the time lapse. And that should be all the dynamite in place. Just so that we get a better view of this, I am going to demolish my scaffolding at this point. So we'll come in here and this should be as easy as selecting all of that and it's gone. Beautiful. All right, we have a couple of trees left. I missed a couple of spots with the dynamite. Yeah, I should have left the scaffolding. I knew I should have. But we can now go through and demolish all of this. And I completely forgot that I had to do 2 layers on a couple of places. So this was all just a big waste of time and resources. I mean, it will accomplish the goal, but we're going to have to come back in with ladders and clean a little bit of this up. That is 100% my bad. This could have been done so much more efficiently. And I apologize to all of you who are currently screaming in the comments. At the very least, it's not too bad. These trees here should now be accessible. I will go ahead and connect these paths up just so that we have easy access over here. And then, simple enough, to clean this up, we will just go ahead and throw in a few ladders to the places we need them. That should be everywhere we need ladders to. These should then get deconstructed. I will go ahead and connect these up to the paths, just in case they need to be. I don't know if they do, but just in case they do, they are now connected. We'll go back into our landscaping. Level 3 dynamite will go on this top level. Level 2 dynamite will go on this level. We need to wait for those trees to be deconstructed. And this, well, as we go through the map, this should, where are we? This should, in theory, be the final time lapse of the demolition of this land. So we'll come back once they've finished all of this. We have an injured beaver. Where did that happen? You are currently unemployed, so how did you get injured? What building hurt you? Because that building needs to be switched over to bots if it hurt you. I honestly couldn't tell you. If you guys know what building might have hurt that beaver, I would love to hear it in the comments, but I don't know. I genuinely couldn't tell you. I believe I switched everything and anything that I could over to bots. I can't find it. I can't find it at all. So yeah, I'm sorry that you got injured. I wish it would tell me how you got injured, but apparently that is not the case. So that's a shame. Oh well. That is what it is, I suppose. Let's go ahead and finally throw the last 2 pieces of dynamite in here and get this cleared out. Perfect. Time to detonate, detonate, and detonate, and detonate, and detonate. And that is done. That was far harder than it needed to be. I don't know what happened there. It just generally wasn't a good time. But we can, at the very least, now go ahead and plant some more maple trees. And they come to about here, so why not just fill the whole thing? Let's go to plant trees and bushes. We want maple trees, and we want them to fill in this whole area. I'm actually going to shrink it down just a little bit there, and then we can throw some more dandelions back here, just because we can, and that should be okay. Now, in terms of the tapper's shack, we will need one up here, right? Because maple syrup is collected through the tapper's shack rather than through the forager. So, jump into wood, grab ourselves a tapper's shack and have a look at how big this is. Looks like it's just a 2x2. We can place it right there and that should be absolutely fine. No risk of being injured on this, so we don't need to switch it over to bots. I will go ahead and say switch it over to maple syrup just so that is definitely doing what it's meant to be doing, and that should be okay. The other thing that we should probably deal with is the fact that we have 32 unemployed bots at the moment. That seems excessive. So we should probably automate. Okay, we can't automate the number of bots that we have. Well, I guess they're just gonna hang out. We could probably switch a couple more things over. Things like our farmhouses are already switched over. We can increase the workers on those to 3 though. And we can start increasing our bots doing other things. For instance, they can absolutely work at the grill if they want to. They can absolutely work at the bakery. That is okay by me. A couple of these buildings can just be switched over to bots so that we don't have quite as many running around doing things that we don't need them to do. I also may go ahead and switch the holding post over. That'll use 10 of our bots, free up a lot of workers, and I think that's generally just a good thing because I imagine bots have less downtime. Someone died over here. I imagine bots have less downtime than beavers, right? So we can switch a whole bunch of stuff over. We still have 12 unemployed bots. That's absolutely fine by me. 28 unemployed beavers. We really shouldn't have a problem with workforce anymore at all. Why is that square empty? Is there something in the way? Let's just delete that for now. Oh, there's a path there. Of course there is. Why would there not be a path there? Let's go ahead and replace that with a maple tree, and that should be good. Perfect. All right. Next thing is next. We currently have 60,000 science, by the way. Does that mean we can now unlock both of these? Yeah, it absolutely does. All right, let's do that. And I think I would like to try and build all 4 of these monuments. They require a lot of resources though. That is 2,000 gears. We currently have 270. Oh, I regret saying that. Maybe we'll build the first 3. This one seems like a bit of a stretch. But we can probably get a farmer monument in here somewhere. What does this look like? It's a 2x2 square. I think I would like to just throw it right on the corner of our farms. That seems to make the most sense to me. This is a thoroughfare, so I think that is okay. Let's just go ahead and say mark resources for deconstruction there, and plant crops, cancel that in there. They should get deconstructed, and then we can go ahead and throw down our very first monument right in here in the middle of town, facing that way. Perfect. First monument is being constructed. That only requires 200 logs. We can absolutely afford that one. Next monument is the Brazier of Bonding. And I honestly think we could go ahead and sit this right in the middle of our housing estate. That works for me. And then the Fountain of Joy. We could be ironic and throw it in our workforce area. Or we could come down here and throw it. I mean, it's a huge area of effect. It would be nice to get it somewhere like very, very central. How big is it? How big are you? Are you 5x5? I feel like you're 5x5. Do we want to rip out some potatoes to get this in? I think we might. All right, let's rip out a 5x5 row of potatoes. 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. Plant crops, cancel crop planting in that area. I might even go ahead and switch some of these carrots over to potatoes. That might be worth doing because we are using far more potatoes than we are carrots. I will just go ahead and say mark all of that for deconstruction as well. They'll get that done. We can plant that up and then get our next monument in there. Okay, this says it requires access to water. I don't have water there. I'm curious to see what happens when we build this. I'm just 100% curious. I don't know if it's going to work there or if we're going to have to change our plans, but I would like to know. So I'm going to do something like that and then run not that. I want to run a path around you. Something like so. Just because it's a 5x5 building, but technically the footprint is only 3x3. Okay, it's in. This building needs deeper water to function. Does that mean it needs water underneath it? Is that what it's trying to tell me? If I build another one of these, and I built it like in the water, would that function? Like, can I just dig out underneath this and fill it in with a tunnel? Will that work? That tunnel would need to come from over here. Just, actually, it needs to be lower than that. Okay, that's a little bit trickier than I anticipated, but we could potentially get it to work. I just genuinely don't understand. I am going to Google what this actually requires, and then I'll come back. All right, this entire building does in fact need to be in water. So we are going to remove it. We are going to come into our landscaping. We are going to grab some dynamite, and we are going to dynamite this entire area and figure out a way to get water in here. That's the plan. All right, this dynamite is ready to explode, but this is quite a busy thoroughfare. So I may have to wait until they all go to bed before I get this done, because otherwise I feel like we're going to kill a bunch of beavers. All right, I think it's nighttime. All of these guys are bots. One thing we can do is go ahead and demolish the paths across here. That should help with not having beavers walk across this, and I think now we'll be okay. Detonate and just hope we don't kill a whole bunch of beavers as everyone apparently wakes up and runs past. I think we're okay. Perfect. All right, now in terms of getting water in here, I think I would like just a simple tunnel straight through here. And honestly, that shouldn't, in theory, be too hard. The hardest part about this is making sure that nothing floods. And to do that, I think I want to build the tunnel one deeper than this. And, well, is that going to work? No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. I genuinely don't know how I'm going to do this without flooding everything. I guess one answer would be to destroy the hauling post for a minute and go from there. So we don't have to destroy it just yet. Let's grab ourselves the landscaping. Let's grab the tunnel. And for right now, I'm just going to run the tunnel straight underneath of our building post, and that should be okay. Perfect. That is now done. Now I'm going to remove the hauling post temporarily. I will grab an impermeable floor for in here. This will get destroyed like so. We'll add a sluice gate coming in. I will throw an impermeable floor on top of that because I believe it needs one as well. Then we'll throw that path back over the top. That should give us a watertight quote-unquote pipe. This can be set to close above downstream depth of 0.5. That should be absolutely okay. And then we come down with our Y level and we finish off this tunnel. So we grab ourselves the tunnel, please. And that will run all the way out to our water sources out here. Now, I don't think they'll be able to access that just yet. We may have to build them an access line to get to that. And I think the easiest way to do that is probably just with a ladder through this way. And I'll bring that all the way up to the top of this so that, you know, they can access it from that path rather than having to go through the water, although I will bring that all the way down. And I believe once that ladder is built, they should be able to blow the rest of this out. And perfect. Just like that, we have a nice little pond in here. It'll help to irrigate our crops. This sluice should keep this nice and topped off, but not overflowing, and everything is looking fantastic. All right, now we can go ahead and grab ourselves that monument, the Fountain of Joy, and throw it right down in the middle there. That should really increase the happiness of our beavers. And, of course, before we forget, we should absolutely go ahead and throw back in our hauling post right about there. And I'm going to make that priority 1 so that we can get that done, and say switch that over to bots. They can't reach this. I was so excited. But thankfully, that's just a simple matter of throwing down a ladder and a path on top of the ladder. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's not going to let me do that. I can throw one on the bottom, but for some reason I can't throw one on top. I imagine it's because it's blocked by this. We may have to replace one of these with a ladder, but we'll see. We'll let them build that, and then, okay, they can reach that. So that ladder is going to be temporary, but that should be okay. Now we can jump into the time lapse. And there we have it. This beaver is stranded somehow. I don't really know how you ended up down there and got stranded at the same time. Okay. Okay, beaver. These beavers, man. Let's go ahead and add a dynamite in here, and we'll replace that with a ladder. Then we'll bring back some more dirt and fill that in once this beaver's gone. Someone get that done, please. There you go. Now we hope we don't kill anyone with this. Perfect. Grab a ladder. That can now sit there. This ladder can be destroyed. And once they build that, we should be good to go. Perfect. That is now done. We now wait for no one to be on said ladder, just like so. Destroy said ladder and come back in with a terrain block and a path. Perfect. We now officially have a fountain of joy. Amazing. And our happiness is up to 52. Amazing. Everything is running well except for you. This building needs deeper water to function. Sorry? What do you mean you need deeper water? Oh, I see. We're currently in a drought. This is not quite full enough. We can, in theory, fix that. Yeah. This is full. These can now say close above downstream depth of 1.5. And if we raise this up to like 1.8, I don't think we'll have flooding because of this, but we'll keep an eye on it. 1.8. That should, in theory, give this enough water to work. There we go. And does anything flood? Let's run it at 30 times speed just quickly to double check. It should be okay. Perfect. No red flags anywhere. No one is injured. Building lacks materials. That is interesting. Maple syrup. Okay. I guess these maple trees just haven't grown yet. Mostly because this is all dry. Well, that's not ideal. That's not ideal at all. Can we fix that? That's coming down from up here. But if we added... No. I don't think we can fix that. I think they are just going to die in our droughts. Hopefully they have enough drought resistance. Yeah, 10 days, they should be fine. They should be fine. Dandelions should be fine as well. I mean, in theory, we could make this reservoir bigger, but I genuinely don't think it's worth it. We could potentially cut this through here as well, do some fancy stuff, but I think it's okay. I think it'll be absolutely fine. I don't think those trees will actually die. They'll just take a little bit longer to grow, and I'm okay with that. Perfect. All right. With our monuments in, I mean, with all of our monuments in except for one. All of them in except for this bad boy. Do we do it? I mean, it covers the entire thing. This doesn't need to be built in water. It can go wherever we want. However, it has a pretty hefty footprint. If we were to build it, I mean, I guess back here is fine. Most of our beavers, quote unquote beavers up here are bots. So having this back here is probably okay. Although I would like to cover a lot of this if we can. Maybe we get rid of this tree section. No. Let's just build it. I mean, we don't really need the happiness. The happiness is a side effect, right? Does this need to be built on solid ground? No. Doesn't seem like it does. We could, in theory, build a platform for this and have it just towering above our city. Is that a terrible idea? Probably. Am I going to do it anyway? Maybe. Like, if I could throw it down there, I think that would look kind of cool. Let me figure this out. So this is how big? That big. I want to pause the game so that I don't accidentally build this. That is... guess it comes to there, right? So that is 7 by 7, I assume. Yep. So if we built a 4x4 platform in the middle, let me find some clear land so I can demonstrate this. Let's do this like way over here. If we built a 4x4 platform in the middle, and then we had overhangs on each of those, that wouldn't quite work because we'd need overhangs going in both directions. So it would need to be like a 6x4 platform. And then we could have this. That was 7, wasn't it? It's odd. That's okay. Scratch that. I hope you guys don't mind figuring this out with me on the fly. If you do, then I'm sure I'll have a timestamp where you can skip ahead. But if we instead, since this is a 7x7, I feel like we're better off with a 3x3 base. Like so. This land isn't as clear as I'd like. Let's do it over here. 3x3 base, right? And that way we'd need to come out, what? Another 2? 7, no, another 3. And then that would be 7 there. Yeah. Okay, so we'd need 3x3 overhangs. I don't know. Let me do some quick working out and I'll come back because I'm confusing myself. That works. So we build a 3x3 platform. Coming off of that, we build a platform down the middle, 1 high, and then 3x1 overhangs on that. And then on top of that, we can build the rest of it. That's the plan. That's my plan. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to fit. But hey, we're gonna try it out and see. I mean, I also don't know if we have the resources to even build this thing. But what's the worst that can happen? We run out of resources. I think that's okay. We don't really need them for anything else. So where did I say I wanted this to sit? That was in monuments and here. And I think I would like it to sit there. And we can absolutely do that. Okay, let's start by just making this 3x3 base and going from there. So that'll be something like so. They should, in theory, be able to build that, which is good. And then we come up. Let's come up a little bit more than that. Let's go up by like 2 levels. Something like that. Then on top of that, we come out with the 3x1 overhangs. Either side, like so. Single platform in the middle. 3x1 overhangs on this side, 1 platform in the middle. And that would be our platform in the middle of our town, which I think will look very, very cool. And hopefully we can sit this on here. Now it does have an opening, which I wasn't really planning on letting them use, but I guess they can, right? If we do that, we then, in theory, how are we going to build all this? They sort of need access up here, which I can do. But then how do we access the rest of it? Can we do an internal ladder? I think we might be able to do an internal ladder. Let's just get rid of this for a second. And then if we just scooch down the middle of this, that's a platform, that's a platform, that's a platform, that's a double platform that we already have built, so that's fine. And then if we grab ourselves the ladder, we should be able to just go something like so. And they should be able to build this entire thing, I believe. I might be wrong, and I might be dreaming, but I think that that should function as long as I get a path going up the middle of this. Now, whether or not they'll be able to build the top thing is another question, but I don't actually need them to build the top thing yet because I need to give them an access path anyway. So that should be okay. Let's grab the paths again and just make sure that we have a path on each of these ladder segments, which I think I now do. If I select that, that connects to everything. And that will be our base. Perfect. They should be able to build that. And then in terms of the entrance, sure, we can throw it over here. Let's throw the entrance somewhere there. Grab ourselves our paths back. Simply put a path up that whole thing, and they should be able to access it. All right, hard off. Let's do it. Okay, I definitely set this to bring in too much water. Or these are holding too much at the very least. Let's scale these back to 1.6. 1.6 on this side as well. Should be enough clearance for that. And then our sluices can be reset to 1.4. Let's try that. And then we'll jump back into the time lapse. Okay, why are you guys not building? Are you guys building? I swear you're not building anything. And you really should be. You have access to all of this. We have builders. It genuinely just doesn't make any sense to me. Are they building something else? Did I accidentally leave one of these blueprints randomly on the map and they're doing that instead? Yes, I did. I left the earth recultivator over here. Please stop. That is absolutely not what you were meant to be building. Let's get rid of all of that and then we can jump into the time lapse of the actual one, please. My goodness. And there you have it. Our platform in the middle of town that is going to house our earth recultivator. We can now go ahead and remove that path from the middle. I don't believe that is required anymore. And then we can throw this in right on top. That is going right there. I'm going to pause the game here just to take a look at this. Yeah, I think this is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be our second tallest structure, second only to our batteries. And I think that's going to look really, really cool. Now, I am going to do a time lapse of them building this. I may even throw a little timer down here so you can see how long it actually took. The game is running at 30 times speed, so keep that in mind when you're looking at that timer. And let's do it. Like I said, this is going to take 2,000 gears, 2,000 treated planks, and 1,500 metal blocks. We have some of those resources, but not in the quantities that this requires. So they're going to have to do some production in order to get this done. Again, a beaver is injured, but they're unemployed. Is this just a thing that can happen sometimes? I genuinely don't understand where they are getting injured. If we have a look at our workplaces, does this tell us whether or not they are dangerous? No, but it does tell us whether or not bots are working there or not. Okay, that is helpful. None of you. Earth recultivator apparently is a workplace. Interesting. I did not realize that. Forester, are they dangerous? No. Gatherer flag shouldn't be. Gear workshops are all bots. Grill is not dangerous, but I can go ahead and throw bots in them anyway. Herbalist, I can't imagine is dangerous. Gristmill, maybe? No, but bots can work in there either way. Herbalist? No. Large water pump? No. Lumber mill is all bots. Lumberjack flag? Again, no. Observatory, I imagine, isn't dangerous at all. Paper mill is that. Refinery. There it is. That needs to be run by bots. That's it. The refinery was the thing that it was. And the one building I didn't click on. But that should now, in theory, be no more injured beavers. Perfect. All right, let's set this shot up. I will leave all of the resource loadouts up. I will start the timer as soon as I hit go, and we'll see just how long this takes to build. I'm back. It's an hour later. And all of our bots are out of fuel and all gone. So our entire thing collapsed a little bit for sure. The reason I walked away is because that literally was an hour real time. And I mean, we got a lot of it done for sure. It's 68% of the way there. The only thing we're really waiting on is treated planks, but our bots being out of fuel is a terrible, terrible thing. So we're going to have to switch some of these things back to actually being done by beavers. And the question is, what do we switch back? This is our maple syrup. Where is our bot fuel? That is here. Biofuel is there. Refinery definitely needs to be switched back. Thankfully, we do have potatoes. So I'm hoping, because there are still bots wandering around, right? It says that we have none. I imagine that's just because we have no fuel at the moment. I'm going to prioritize the refinery entirely and say, you guys need water. Oh, is everyone dead? Oh no. Well, that concludes our playthrough, I suppose. This is why you don't walk away from games. Our water source was being controlled by bots. Our bots ran out of fuel. Therefore, our bots were no longer pumping water, and therefore every single one of our beavers died. Well, that's a bigger problem than I thought it was when I came back. I am very sad that we didn't get this done, but we did reach a happiness level of 54, I believe was the highest that I saw it, before our mass extinction event. So, yeah. I don't imagine there's a way to come back from this, right? Every single bot is out of fuel, and we have no beavers. So I don't see a way to save this other than going into dev mode. But that is okay. This was going to be the last episode anyway. This was going to be the very last thing that I built. I hope you guys enjoyed this series as much as I did. I definitely did not expect it to end in a mass extinction event, but you know what? These things happen, especially when you leave a game AFK for over an hour. If you guys enjoyed this series, make sure to go ahead and leave a like and a comment for the sake of engagement. RIP Beavers works fantastically. What else? Yeah, if you did enjoy, leave a like and a comment for the sake of engagement. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Consider becoming a member if you would like early access to all of our videos, or a Golden Panda member if you would like your name in future games. But until next time, happy building, happy damming. Bye, guys.